What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Concrete Edge right here on Deco-Crete TV. My name's Jeff, and on today's episode, we're going to be showing you guys some of the basic tools and going over some tips on how to transport and install concrete countertops. So stay tuned, and you're going to learn all about it. Now, the first key to success for installing concrete countertops is just making sure that they fit, and this all starts before you even cast anything. And the only real good way of doing this is to build custom templates for each job, and I can promise you that the install will not go well if the piece doesn't even fit to start off with. So for a video on building templates, please check out this episode right here. Now, the next tip is don't be afraid to look to the granite or marble industry for some guidance on this. I mean, casting concrete countertops is fairly specific to decorative concrete, but the installation is pretty common for any solid surface countertop. Now, part of the reason we made this video is because there just isn't that much out there on YouTube about installing precast concrete countertops. That being said, I have picked up tons of tips over the years from YouTube videos on installing countertops and undermount sinks, just because those videos might have been made for some other kind of surface. Most of the info still applies here. Now, the first step is going to be transporting the tops from your shop to the job site, and once we get there, we'll go over all the tools and start installing. All right, so we got everything all ready to go now. These things are cured out, they are sealed. The couple little blemishes are fixed up, and today is the day that we're gonna go install these things. And so I just wanted to point a few things out. You can see how Andrew, first of all, we got the trailer right behind us. This is how we're gonna get these things to the job. And so he's got them on these carts, and he's got these things strapped down on here so we don't have to worry about anything tipping or falling. So always the nerve-wracking part is right now, if you're not set up right, and the last thing we want to do is end up dropping one of these things and breaking it and having to make a new one. So upright like this is always good. We never want to carry these things flat. We always want to carry them upright. So they got these things strapped down there, and we're going to take them straight into that trailer, and then we can just pick them straight up, keeping them vertical the whole time, put them right against that wall. Some people use styrofoam, you can use blankets, whatever you gotta do just to protect that, so it can doesn't get too much vibration on the ride. You can strap these things to the wall of your trailer, or what Andrew does is he'll just screw a piece of AZEK in there, keeps everything nice and tight, and we don't have to worry about it. Another thing that I've never personally done, but I know they do this a lot in the granite industry, and I've seen people actually build A-frames that they can haul these things on, and that way, it's still standing upright, but they kind of hold themselves on the A-frame. So however you guys, whatever you need to do to get it there, the big thing is don't ever just lay these things flat on your trailer. That is just asking for trouble. So to go over a couple tools that we just want to make sure we always have with us on install day, and the first one is going to be an angle grinder, and hopefully we don't ever have to use this one, but let's just say that there's just a little tiny piece that needs cut off or a little bit of an edge needs trimmed in order to make it fit, and having that angle grinder on hand just is going to make it go a lot better. Another thing is a multi-tool like this. And sometimes you need to knock off just a little bit of a brace on a cabinet, or sometimes there's a plumbing pipe or just a little something that's in the way. So the next up is going to be shims, and plenty of them. I can tell you that this is something that we are going to be using a lot of up there. There's no cabinets that are completely 100% flat. Neither is the top that you poured, so there's always going to be shimming. So next up is going to be silicone, and a couple things is I would recommend getting an actually good caulking gun to use for this, one that's dripless. We're in somebody's kitchen now, and we don't want drops of silicone laying over there. We need to do this as clean as possible, so a really good high quality caulking gun. And then as far as the silicone, we just want completely clear silicone, but we also want 100%. We don't want any of that stuff that's made to be painted or anything like that, just 100% silicone, best thing we can use. Now, anytime that I'm using silicone, one of the things that I'm gonna need near me is gonna be some rags. So again, don't just bring one or two, bring a whole box. There's gonna be lots of cleanup from the silicone, so just make sure we have plenty of rags. I always like to bring a little bit of beeswax with me. You never know, these tops are completely finished at this point, but you never know if we might make a little scratch or something. So bringing a little bit of beeswax with you just helps you, touch a couple spots up if you happen to do so. So if you are installing a faucet and you haven't actually drilled the hole yet, then make sure to bring your core bit with you. So I actually prefer to drill these in place, because now we know that we can get the hole exactly where we want it,
and we know that it's actually going to work underneath. Sometimes, you know, you pre-drill that hole and then the plumbing just doesn't work out underneath it. So I do like to do those, you know, on site, but that means make sure you bring your bit and make sure you bring a drill to run it on. A couple other things that come in handy there would be a tape measure. You're always going to be needing to, you know, measure where your center's at, and you know, something to mark it with, whether it's a Sharpie or a soapstone, whatever it might be. Another thing that can be handy during that the shimming process is having one of these little airbags here. So now, you know, we can actually stick this under a side, get it to where we want it, and then we can shim it all up and without having to hold it in place. Another good thing to have is a level. You know, you're gonna have to sort of make these countertops work for the cabinets themselves, but I always like to have a level just to ease my mind to make sure we're not making something that's way off. And also a vacuum is just a really good thing to have, you know, especially if we're drilling those holes, whatever it might be, you know, having that good dust vac is gonna go a long way on these jobs.
Now, when it comes time to start carrying these tops into the kitchen and start installing, one of the first things is just having plenty of help. You know, these things are made out of G.F.R.C. and it's fairly lightweight for a concrete countertop, but they do still have some weight to them. And I'm just telling you, being shorthanded, you just end up talking yourself into doing things that you should never do. The other thing that we like to do is just go ahead and leave these things right on the cart. That way, you know, we're going to carry them up these steps on the cart, and once we get to the top, we'll just be able to set these things down and wheel them right inside the house and into the kitchen, and that way we're not fighting through doorways and we don't have to worry about, you know, holding the weight of these things up. Now, once we get them inside here, all we need to do is just let down the straps, and the big thing is before we actually set anything in place, I just want to make sure that there's nothing sitting on you know, the cabinets, or nothing going to be in the way when we actually go to set this thing down. And I just always like to just kind of dry fit it, slide it in there, just make sure everything's good, and as long as it is, go ahead and slide them on in, and then we can just go straight to our shimming process. And it always does work better to go ahead and pull the drawers out at this point. That way we can kind of get up underneath there and, you know, get the shims in where we want them, and we're kind of level things up a little bit. And as soon as we got them all shimmed in place, the great thing about this is that we don't have to move them again now. And I'll be honest, when I first started doing this, you know, we used to like really glue them down hard with liquid nails. First of all, it doesn't need to be fastened that hard. So all we're gonna do is just take some of that clear 100% silicone, and we're just gonna run a bead along the entire front edge, you know, up against the cabinet. And that's gonna actually, not only is that gonna seal that off and kind of fill our gaps in, but that is gonna go a long way in holding these tops in place. They don't really need that much. So once we get our silicone up there, we're just gonna just take our finger and just smooth it out. This is where our rags come in handy, because we are gonna be getting, you know, silicone all over our fingers, and we want to keep that clean so we don't end up grabbing the top and smearing it all over the top. While we have our silicone out and everything's, you know, in place and it's in its final destination now, the nice thing to do is just go ahead and just take some painter's tape, and we're just gonna tape right along the edge of our seams. And then we're gonna take a little bit of sandpaper and just scuff that a tiny bit, just so our silicone gets a real nice bond there. And then same thing, we're just gonna run a nice tight little bead of silicone, smooth it out with our fingers, pull our tape off. Now, you know, that gap is completely filled and nothing's gonna wanna fall down in there or anything. Now, another thing we can do is, you know, we got this nice little small sanding block here that, you know, if we want to touch up our edges a little bit and just make sure, you know, this is final presentation now, and so we just want to make sure everything is completely good and feeling nice now that we're not going to mess with it anymore. This is also where you could go ahead and, you know, if you did get a little scuff on it, we could take some of our beeswax and just go back over it. And when it comes time to the sink and the plumbing, honestly, this job was really easy. There was a plumber there on site. He had the sink already installed. It's a farmhouse sink, which actually makes it easier. And, you know, if this isn't the case and you do have to install an undermount sink, just, you know, again, there's plenty of YouTube videos out there on installing undermount sinks. Just because it's concrete, it's not different than anything else. As far as the plumbing goes, man, best piece of advice there is just get a plumber to do all this stuff. Well, guys, that's pretty much it for today's show. Big thanks to Andrew and Weave Designs, and thanks to you guys for watching these videos. Man, we really appreciate all the support that you guys show to the channel. Please leave us a comment if we missed anything, or if you have any questions on installing concrete countertops. Now, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please let us know by hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you're already subscribed, don't forget about that bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and it really helps our channel out. So from all of us here at Deco-Crete TV, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.